What is going on, Print Fam? If you're new, my name's Cam. Welcome to the Print Life. Today's video is all about high density screen printing. More specifically, it's about me finally tackling this process and figuring it out for myself. Make sure if you see something I'm doing wrong or if you have experience in this, you chime into the comments and tell me how I can fix it. And I also ask a very specific question about some issues I was having with my screens about 3/4 through the video. So make sure you watch to that point and give me your input. Jesse's here. All right, so today what I'm gonna be doing is trying a high density coating technique that I found in an old YouTube video, and we're gonna see if I can make it work. It's a little strange for me, but what you do is you'll do the coat on the outside of the screen, and then you're gonna turn the screen around and you're gonna start coating from the inside, but you're gonna let a fan lightly blow on the outside coat here, and apparently what that does is it creates kind of a membrane. So it'll allow the membrane to raise off as you're filling this side with emulsion. Today we're gonna try Murakami T9. I'm not sure if this will be thick enough, but let's give it a shot. Fan's right there, and I'm letting the fan blow on this, creating a membrane as I fill the backside. Let's do 10 coats. And I also saw that you actually want to turn the screen with every coat. So this is a time-consuming process. Now what I'm going to do with this screen is let it dry normally, but we're going to use the different method that I've always used in the past with mixed results, but we're going to try that out and just see how it works. First screen that I coated, that one, because the stencil's so thick, we're gonna let that thing dry for 24 hours. Sucks, I know. But the other one, what I'm gonna do is just let it dry for maybe an hour here in the Phoenix heat. It's hot as shit. There's very little humidity, so it should dry fairly quickly. And then we're gonna do the process that I'll show you in a second. Jesse took, hey man, Jesse just took off for the day, and I came into the dark room and did some rearranging. Here's why. That first time that I coated that first screen that you saw me do, it had liquid tape around the edges, and it's an older screen, and it's one of the first sets of screens that we ever applied liquid tape to. It was really jagged, and as I was dragging the scoop coater along the mesh, it would like hang up. So I'm gonna try it again. I also made some adjustments. Instead of coating on the floor down here, I moved the fan under the table and it's shooting up against the wall. So it won't be as harsh of a breeze on the back of the screen. I'm hoping that that'll help. Let's do this again. Bro, I got issues. I need another place to start putting shit. Look at the motorcycle exhaust just hanging in the background. Uh-oh. So it's causing a delamination. There we go. This dammed up method that I tried to show you, this is the same stuff I've ran into every single time I tried doing it. So you can see the air bubbles have surfaced, right? And then also I should have removed the dams sooner, like maybe after only 30 minutes. You just want to leave the dams on there long enough to where it'll kind of create a film around it, and then after that you want to pull the dams away, but I waited too long and it ended up delaminating this whole side. More than likely that screen's not going to work, which is a bummer because without a shadow of a doubt that has the thickest stencil. Wasted a crap load of emulsion doing it, but I just feel like this method is a little bit more controlled and it has way less air bubbles. But we're gonna see. We're gonna test them all out and just see what happens. Another thing I just realized after doing 20 coats on one screen, this table is too far away from the wall and my back is killing me. We're gonna let those screens dry for 24 hours and then we will pick up where we left off, burning or testing and seeing if we can get those screens to expose, checking the stencil thicknesses, and then finally crushing a high density print. Hopefully, one of those screens had better goddamn work or I'm going to lose my crap. This camera filming me is gonna get thrown. I'll throw it. I will throw this camera. I got no problems chucking this camera across the shop. I'm not gonna chuck my camera, but I will be pissed. It's been 24 hours. I got my film right here. Let's talk about this for a second. I picked this graphic mainly because it's simple. There are a few variations of line weights, like the smaller font down here, and I did a variation in the reg marks. So these are your standard 1-point reg marks here and here, and then these are 2 points. I'm not sure if I can get that line weight to hold on a super thick stencil. Perfect testing graphic. What I am excited for is if I can get this one to work, then I can start applying the high density technique to more complicated projects. There. not the thickest, but it does seem to, I mean, it feels like there's quite a bit. This is the last one that I coated. That's pretty thick too, I ain't gonna lie. So those some pretty good thickness going on. This one, not so much. This is the first one that I did. And without a doubt, I can feel that it's not as thick. It's also got a lot of air bubbles in it. So there was a bit of a learning curve. So I would say that this first one is kind of a wash, but what I am gonna do is use this to try to figure out and gauge my exposure time. As far as the one that I made using the whole damming with cardboard process, there's so many goddamn air bubbles in it. And then I messed it up when I was removing the tape. It's no good. This is a lost cause. And so that I'm killing two birds with one stone, just in case this stencil does work out, I'm applying the exposure calculator to this on the bottom of the graphic so that we're kind of getting like a 2 for 1. There we go. All right. Not good. So I mean, this is dried for 24 hours and it's still got some stickiness to it. This one got screwed up because I absolutely exposed it too long. I ended up like tripling. We normally expose at 20 seconds. I took it all the way to 60. I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna expose it at 30 seconds instead of our normal 20, and we're gonna see where that lands us. Whoops. Films just wanna stick, dude. Those damn films keep sticking to these thicker stencils. I don't know if the stencils need to dry another 24 hours to make sure all the moisture is out of them. I don't know. If you guys know exactly why the films stick to this, let me know in the comments. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming it's because these aren't dry enough. I either need to dehumidify in there, which I haven't done yet, or they need to dry another 24 hours. That's my first guess, is that it's moisture. So I won't dampen the backside until I'm almost through the print side of this thing. right here started breaking down. I think it's because I was using too much of like a hard stream. I switched out the nozzles a couple times, just testing different things. I think that it's better to take your time, use a light mist, like a more spread out, softer mist, and just let it do its thing. But everything else held up pretty well. Little exposure calculator, those little fine lines, they're toast. So one thing that is for sure that I figured out though is you're not gonna dampen the backside. I think now I dampened it about 3/4 of the way through. On this next screen that I test, I'm not gonna even consider wetting the back. I'm gonna leave it dry the whole time. All right, so I'm gonna set this one aside. We're gonna try this again. I'm convinced now it's a humidity thing. I have got to get a dehumidifier in there. Not having a dehumidifier in there has been fine with just regularly coated screens, but now that I'm trying to do this high density thing, it's got to happen. As far as I can tell, what you're gonna wanna do, just keep running water on this until you have it almost about to break through to the other side. Then you can quickly dampen the squeegee side, but then from that point you have maybe a minute of washout time until the small details start to break down. I'm gonna let this one dry too. Screens have had time to dry. Let's investigate the stencils before I actually put them on press. This was the second screen that I washed out. It's got a pretty thick stencil going on there, but because I wet the squeegee side of the screen too soon, I couldn't get the R details to hold up. Also, the S started to break down. What we're looking at here is the last screen I exposed, but it was the second screen I coated. It's not as thick, so it doesn't have as thick of a stencil, but I was able to get the details to hold. See that? The R, the P, the S held up. Even the trademark logos there. The stencil's not as thick. And see how much thicker this one is? This was 20 passes. I think this one here ended up at only, what was it, maybe 15? Big difference. But this is progress. Even though this screen is no bueno, I'm gonna tape off the words on the bottom. So it would just be the Monument logo without the screen printing crap on it. And then I'm gonna set this one up as well. And we're gonna do a side-by-side comparison. When it comes to high density, not only is making the screens a very specific skill, but actually successfully printing it is another thing that can, a little shaky. Got a hell of a lot of off contact on this, like almost 3/8. I mean, maybe 1/4 of an inch. It's pretty high. These are not the proper screens to be printing high density with. They're a 110, and you know you should probably have like at least an 80 or like a but they're also extremely old. We don't really have any low mesh screens here anymore. So I just used what we had, but they're old and they are not very high in newtons, so the print's not gonna go extremely well. Honestly, my biggest concern with this video and this process was just getting the hang of making the screens. So just to reiterate, this is a test. This is only a test. Oh my God. Oh! Bro, I'm gonna fucking kill him. Dude. Although Jesse is a fucking hard worker, he gets ink on every fucking surface in this shop. You touch here, you get ink on you. You touch here, here, here. You gotta grab a garbage bag. Oh, you get ink on yourself from the garbage bags. He gets it on every fucking thing. Homicide. I'm gonna commit employee homicide. All right. So this screen, I let it dry out in the sun, and it has scum clogging the top there. So I'm moving over to this screen, which is the thicker one, but it's sort of messed up. I mean, that's not even close to a high density print. Still not really. It's bullshit. It's just not clean either. Looks like shit. A little more angle. Okay. All right, all right, all right, all right. It's not perfect, but I was able to at least get all of it to stick with just one pull. Yeah, it's interesting though, because the outside gets more raised up, and it's not as much in the middle, which means I'm probably using too much pressure. Next one, I'm going to try to use less pressure so it doesn't have the tendency to squish down in the middle. Still thick on the edges and thin in the middle. I don't know, man. All right, I have a long ways to go, even with just the printing process or the printing skills necessary to print high density. And we're gonna go for it and see if I can get it to a place at least where I'm willing to wear it. It's not retail ready, but that's cool. That's cool. The stencil is not thick enough to be what I would consider high density, which means you have to do like a print, flash, print, just to get it sort of thick. But I still have a long way to go. But I'm gonna print this just to see. It has a tendency not to look as good on press, but after it goes through the dryer, it does look a little bit better. It's like the edges sort of level out or something. Thicker here, slimmer here, thicker here. So, you know, as the squeegee, as you're pulling it and the blade is pushing a little bit with more tension here and it's a little bit lighter up here, so it's kind of forcing it flatter in the middle and thicker on the ends. It's not a lot, but it does happen. Sweet. So you're looking at my final product now. It was a bit of a pain in the butt. I feel like the first issue that I was absolutely having was getting the screens made. But it seems like if you go 20 plus coats that you can get a thick enough stencil that with a print flash print, you'll have a pretty substantial high density. I feel like if you wanted to go any thicker than this, you'll more than likely need to use a capillary film. As far as the print, man, it is making that final print. There's just as much technique to that as there is in making the stencil. If you push too hard, it kind of flattens out in the middle. It builds the edges up really high. So in closing, we're gonna have to do a good chunk more experimenting, and then if you decide to bring this process in-house, not only are you gonna have to have a firm grasp on how to do it, but dude, training someone else to get it done would be, you know, it'd be tricky. That's pretty much it, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're done.